Um, Also in the documentary, I don't remember who it was because they didn't show their face. It was just kind of voice-over footage. But they say that Tupac fired the lawyer, David Kinner, and he was on his way out. I know you had mentioned it before, but can you explain why David Kinner was fired by Tupac?
Well, what happened was Suge had brought in, as I spoke in a previous episode, he had brought in his brother-in-law, Norris Anderson, made him the general manager, and a guy named Calvin Tubbs, that Kenny Tubbs' brother, who was from the neighborhood, grew up with us, who was Suge's brother-in-law, Desi Tubbs, brother. And so he brought Calvin in because he had graduated from USC, real smart guy, real executive, corporate guy. I'll keep telling y'all, that's what Suge was all about. Giving people from the neighborhood good positions in death row. And this fortunate, this big company was sharing his, his wealth with people that he grew up with and trust. So he gave Calvin an offer he couldn't refuse to leave this big corporate job that he had. So, so now during the transition, he's having, because he already feeling things wasn't going right with Kenner and Cantrock. Stephen Cantrock was the accounting firm that worked for Gelfand. And so now he's starting to watch his money and watch things, but he's still not alienating David Kenner because you don't do that. You don't mess with a dude that have which he eventually learned, in my opinion, you don't alienate somebody that got control over you like that. But, you tell them you're doing too much. I'm taking a load off you. I don't want you working as hard. And that's what he was pretty much, how he was using David Kenner or telling Kenner, hey, I'm going, you just focus on the criminal stuff and stuff like that. But on how Calvin is dealing with the day-to-day office stuff and approving the bills and, dealing with the accounting firm and all of that. And so that was all going on from about maybe April, May, until the downfall, which started in like September. And so he had Calvin and them going over books and doing things and now they in charge and making all the business, the day-to-day operation business decisions, Calvin and Norris, for sure. And so David feeling a little distance, but he still got a little control because he still got Kentrock and him and Kentrock. But that's when the big meeting happened between, I was there, but Kentrock and Kenner that I told y'all about, where Kentrock eventually went to the feds, talking about Suge was threatening and all that because Norris and Calvin found out a lot of things wasn't going right and doing right. And so Suge, that's when he was telling people that, okay, Snoop, you get your own accounting firm because he was over at Gelfand. Pac was at Gelfand. Y'all get your own people. Y'all, we ain't creating these different companies and y'all need to take care of y'all stuff, yourselves. David Kenner don't need to be dealing with that. I'm not dealing with David Kenner no more on that business tip and dealing with him like that, as far as dealing with my money and my business stuff. But criminally, I keep telling you motherfuckers, criminally, they were not, Tupac would have been the stupidest motherfucker in the world, I'll say it. If he would have got rid of David Kenner out on appeal bond that David Kenner was the only one able to make happen. Yeah, I'll concede that anybody probably could have got the $1.5 million and all of that. I'll concede all of that. But what they didn't have is David Kenner to go and push that stuff through the court systems the way David did. And that's where David value was. And so Tupac was not firing David Kenner on no criminal matters. It was just the business stuff, dealing with, his financings and his contracts. And, because it really was a conflict of him handling death row and also handling, the contracts and stuff was when he did stuff with Gridlock, when he did stuff with gang related. David Kidder was handling all of that, all of those contracts and stuff. And so that's what happened. That's why David was relieved of his duties, those type of duties. But never he was going to be out of the picture. And two, never was he going to not be the one handling the criminal matters, the matters. He had just got Snoop Dogg off of a murder case that he shouldn't have been. Anyway, so 3 months later, you're going to get rid of him? The best criminal attorney at the time? Okay, y'all. He was still, shit, we were doing court. September the 11th, something like that, still fighting the probation violation case that he had because of the Hughes brothers. So you don't just replace attorneys like that. If you ever been through a criminal system and all of that, you'll see that that don't happen that often. And when it does, you end up getting 28 years when you keep turning your attorneys. Y'all didn't catch that. That's too deep for y'all. But when you keep changing attorneys, that usually mess stuff up for you. So, make a long story short, he was just saying that and sent that letter for dealing with his business stuff. Apparently, he had got some attorney or something. I don't know to start dealing with stuff. Eazy-E did it. Y'all forget the black attorney that he had. That was working for me. He got away from Jerry Heller and their people. I forget that attorney's name that he had. But it was an attorney that Jerry Heller and Mike Klein and them couldn't stand. That Easy and his people started dealing with at the hospital. That was locking them out and stuff like that. So it happens, you know. You learn and you eventually go and get your own people and get them involved. Suge did it. He definitely did it once he was sitting behind no jail. Most of y'all don't know Milton Grimes started handling most of Suge probation violation and all of that. He had brought a whole different criminal team in and stuff during that time. But David Kidder was still there as well. And so, yeah, that's all that was going on. If that answers your question, John.